back to school.
Restaurant meal or something.
Yeah, right. All right, folks, it's 4:30. We'll start the meeting here. First of all, welcome to our regularly scheduled select board meeting on this time, August 13th at 4:30. First on the docket is to amend and approve minutes from July 9th. And a motion to do so. Need ready for us.
I'll move that.
Second. Right now, I think this one you were not here for.
Okay.
Okay. Just FYI. Have you any questions or anything on the minutes?
No.
Any other discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Yeah, you probably should. Two ayes and one abstention. Yes. Clear the record there. Thank you. The second one was for July 23rd, and here's what I got underneath where it should be. And this time you were out of town.
Right.
You were here. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes. I will second that. Any discussion on those? All those in favor? Aye. Aye.
And I abstain.
All right, I'll get those taken care of. Update on action items. Thank you, sir. Those out here. Another thing we still got going is the double head parking issue. Just kind of FYI, and I've been by there every morning. I go that way to get my morning cup of double D's. And I've yet to see any cars parked down the road this summer. So it seems to be managed pretty well. Have you heard any complaints or anything over there?
Complaints because we've issued parking tickets to people who park right in front of the sign. So we've been parking the road in front of it. This was 2 weeks ago.
I haven't seen it. I saw one car, I think, all summer long when I was going up and down that road.
It certainly hasn't been.
As bad.
They were shooting one, for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's kind of our big issue is the winter time. And maybe we could probably rethink that a little
Well,
bit.
visibility is improved in the winter time too in terms of signage.
Mhm.
There's no leaves to block the signs and all that. Maybe we'll see some improvement.
Jim is on vacation, so we haven't had any success trying to set up a meeting with that. Like I said, the deals aren't really been doing it for a couple of years anyway, so when Jim gets back on vacation, we'll set up that meeting, I guess.
Sounds good.
That pretty much is everything on long-term plans here, action items. Just a couple of notes on future meetings. August 27th will be our next board meeting, and 2 in September will be the 10th and the 24th. Anybody have any objections for any of those yet?
No.
Pretty good. Alrighty. Moving on to the police report.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon.
My list of things to cover seems long, but probably won't be. It's so long due to the fact that I wasn't here at the last meeting. I'll skim over the ones that we kind of gone by the wayside. Jay and I have made great progress in terms of parking here in the village with the addition of some new parking spaces. We had, of course, we had the Covered Bridge Dance July 4th. There was a golf tournament, those types of things that we talked about being concerned. We addressed them. The golf tournament was addressed with actually assigning a officer down there to help with parking, and it worked great. We had no issues. We had nothing that really concerned the town. And in terms of the other events, they were a great success with very few, 1 or 2 violations. People were just pushing the bounds of how far we're going to let them go. And it's easily corrected, so I think we're headed in the right direction in terms of parking in the village. There's an issue that I've gotten a half a dozen phone calls on from concerned citizens to admin and teachers at the school, and it may involve some further research, but I know that we don't have a town ordinance that addresses what I'm deeming treasure hunting on town property. I'm getting calls of people with metal detectors and advanced equipment in terms of radiology type equipment, sound imaging. And they take it on to Prospect Farm, or they take it behind the school on historical grounds and are searching for and digging up things that they find, artifacts. What I have been putting out to people is politely asking them to leave until we have the discussion with the selectmen and find out if that's permissible or not. Otherwise, it equates to a criminal trespass, it equates to destruction of town property, until we discuss it and figure out a resolution, or if there is one, or if we need to have it. That was my advice to everybody who's called. Right now, it sits at about a half a dozen calls. And it's the first time I've ever heard of it in the past, this summer, in the past 8 years. So, is it continuing to happen? I don't know. Does it need to be a concern? I'm kind of opening that up to everybody's awareness and see what the response is back.
My initial response would be that, first of all, anything they find on town property doesn't belong to the town. It doesn't belong to them. They can't go dig up anything and take it off. At least in the interim, until somebody finds out something else, I would say that follow through with no trespassing and that kind of stuff, and just say you can't do that. That would be without passing another new ordinance or something.
I say I would imagine that's something enforceable. I mean, you can't just.
Well, what's enforceable now is the statute of criminal trespass. You can't go on there and cause damage, whether it be a 4-inch hole or whether it be a 6-inch by 3-foot deep pit, just to excavate something that they have supposedly found. And like Bill said, whatever they do find, you could start looking at theft of property at that point because it doesn't belong to them. It's not, public access doesn't go that far.
If you think about it on your own property, if I have a lot out in front of my house and somebody comes up and starts digging around, it's my property. What's wrong with it?
So the statute that makes it clear that articles found on town property are town property.
I don't know that. I know in talking about the criminal trespass statute, they're going on, I guess we would have to look at that a little bit further, because are they permitted to be there? Yeah, because it's town property. Are they permitted to cause damage and take something that doesn't belong to them? That sort of speaks to the second half of that statute, which is not allowed.
Is not what?
It's not allowed.
It's clearly
If you got that statute,
permissible in the
that would
statute.
probably be helpful to see.
Because I think that it would make sense for us.
There's also a third part of that that has to do with historical structures, and that just speaks to the classification of what they've done and how to prosecute it. So it could be as much as a B felony, depending on the amount of damage to a historical area. Is Prospect Farm a historical area? I don't know. I think it is. Maybe it's not. But it's still town property.
Well, it makes sense if we have language that's already enforceable. And
It is.
It is reasonable to post some signage, then we should be doing that.
What I don't want to get into, Bob, and I think I've already alluded to this many times on a different issue, is
More sign?
exactly.
I don't want more signs in there.
I mean, we could end up putting up a sign for every infraction that comes our way. And right now, we're dealing with a half a dozen phone calls and complaints that have been dealt with pursuant to what I've said, just ask them to leave or call the police department.
In 2 different locations.
In 2 different locations. Unless and until it gets to be a recurring thing that's frequent every other day and I'm notified of it, I'm comfortable with just saying, just tell them, ask them to leave and educate.
So how do you enforce something like that at the Prospect Farm when it's rare that somebody's up there and actually sees something like that happening? The one time when somebody did notice that could have been the 1 out of 50 times that it's happened this year. So if we're concerned about historical artifacts being removed from town property, well, then what's the way forward? And I understand what you're saying about like sign fatigue and everything else, and not overdoing that, but I don't know, maybe we just need to keep talking about it. I mean, my initial concern in hearing this is that things are being removed from town property. This could be happening right now as opposed to having not happened over the last few years, and by the time we get around to addressing a permanent fix, valuable items have been removed.
Yeah.
Is it like now on the patrol schedule, or what? You see,
It's as much of the patrol schedule as it always is.
So when somebody sees
I haven't increased anything because
Yeah.
of the calls that we've gotten.
so Prospect Farm, for example, is gated.
Right.
Your guy goes up there and sees a couple of cars. Is he going to get out now and walk up? I mean, what's the
Really
best
not.
way forward?
Yeah, that's not a safe option for us, given that we're by ourselves.
Right,
And I wouldn't propose that. I think,
but you're also not in favor of sign.
I'm not in favor of a sign for every infraction that I'm gonna bring forth.
Yeah.
Not supposed to be up there or no?
Is there a signboard up there that says?
Signboard. You got a whole other list of rules for Prospect Farm.
Right, but they're only going to see that if they come in here to check out the key. So if they're just going to walk through, they're not going to necessarily.
Signboard there.
Yeah.
Add the sign.
Add to it? Yeah.
Well, if it's an issue all of a
Prospecting
sudden,
and treasure hunting is,
how do you feel, John?
Yeah, I think, maybe something we could just add to, anybody who wants the key, so we can put that on our list that we give to them.
yeah.
And, maybe it's, obviously there's only probably a couple of perpetrators that are doing this.
Like I said,
And
it has to go
educate
through-
them, obviously that'll probably mediate most of the problem. Maybe that hopefully will do.
Well, having this discussion now is kind of a precursor, because I can certainly see in the future, somebody getting offended because it's public property.
Right.
And I want to do what I want to do because it's public property.
Right.
And then they're going to show up here and but it's just staying ahead of the curve is what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
Well, we do that, add it to Julie's list with the key, and
problem.
then,
Yeah.
at least we have it in writing. We catch a few of them up there, just inform.
Find out what the statute is. We want to
Little
cite
prospecting at Prospect Farm.
on there and summarize the language.
Prospecting.
Change the name to No Prospect.
No prospect.
No prospecting at Prospect Farm. I have two other things on my list, and one being that the open container ordinance that was proposed 2 meetings ago or a month ago that Bob and I have kind of committed to working on. I haven't dropped the ball, but it's kind of stalled, and I'll pick that up again because I think that's going to become important going forward. I do have examples from other towns that are going to be comparable to us, so it should be a fairly quick, easy thing to put together. And the last thing that I want to talk about is a personal issue with our department, but I think it's important to get it on record. I think it's important that everybody in town be educated about it, and my hope is that some of this will go out on e-news, and it has to do with the treatment and the observation of our flag status. Obviously, we get flag status notifications from the governor, and we obey them. The police department has undertaken the oversight of this flag, the one at the school, the one at the memorial in front of the school, and the one at the post office. And the issue is this, that the observance of the flag is an honorary observance. It's something that everybody should take reverence in. And when we're conducting a ceremony, to bring that flag to half-staff or to raise it to full staff, it is just that. It is a formal ceremony. It only takes a couple of minutes, and it should be a revered thing. What we're seeing is during these ceremonies where we're out doing it, people will come right into us and say, hey, how you doing? And sort of interrupt that ceremony. I want to talk to people, I want to hear what you have to say, but just to get it out there, to let people know that that ceremony is only a minute and a half long. If you just observe that flag ceremony with us, I'll be happy to talk to you for the rest of the day. But I don't believe that people know that that is as much of a ceremony as is observing a funeral or observing a national parade or something like that. And that interruption is in our minds, because our department is 3/4 military now, it's very much a disservice, and it's very disrespectful to the flag and to what we're trying to do, and do it properly and do it with respect that is due when you look at flag protocol. Nothing to discuss about it. I just wanted it to get out there so that people aren't offended by it when we don't turn to the meeting and talk to them. We're just trying to do what's right.
Can you maybe summarize that in writing so that we can pass that along to
Absolutely.
those?
I absolutely. And lastly, what I have, just want to touch on briefly because it is something that's still in the works, is I invited the Bartlett Police Chief and the Bartlett Selectmen, as well as Bill and the administrative officers up here, to a presentation of a statewide program that's coming online. It's called COP Sync, S-Y-N-C. And what it does is it puts the school directly in touch with the police department, the administrative officers, and the fire department. Jay wasn't invited, I don't know. So that if there was an event at the school, a teacher would sit at their computer, hit an icon, and it would immediately go to my cell phone, my computer, Julie's cell phone, Bill's, who's ever on that network, and informing that they have an issue and that they're doing this. And that immediately goes to the state police, and immediately goes to the governor, or the Attorney General's office. So it's bringing all these resources together on a more direct route, faster, and it's also real-time information. So you can have a teacher on the second floor, and you can have the chief of police at the command center, and you can have the fire chief at the fire department, and they're all getting real-time information as to who's in the building, what's going on, and who's responding and at what time. And it's all tied in with GPS mapping, and it's just a great system that's coming online. In terms of cost, it's negligible. Initially, it was going to cost I believe it's going to cost the school about $1,800 per building, both here and in Bartlett. But in terms of our cost, the town of Jackson, initially it was going to cost $1,200 for $1,200 per campus, and then $120 per terminal. But I got a call back from the representative of this company, and he said, well, in your town and in Bartlett, your campuses are all basically in one building. So really, he said, they're not going to charge us that $1,200. So really what it comes down to is $120 per terminal, which would be mine, Julie, and Jay in this building, and in the town garage and the fire department, wherever Jay wanted to set it up. So at that point, you know, you're looking at $1,000. Now that is a setup fee and the first year's user fee as well. And then we would incur that fee as a user fee every year thereafter for that type of real-time information. And I don't know if Bill or Julie have any input, but I was highly impressed and encouraged by this program, as is most everybody who's already on it.
What's the user fee?
It's all encompassed in that $120
All the 120.
per terminal.
You mean that, I thought he said it was going to be $1,200 a year after that.
No, he's waiving that because we're all in the same building.
So this is all landline sent?
No, it's all
No.
internet. It's all.
But is it going, internet being going by like telephone, cable lines,
Cable, yeah.
poles. There's a reason why I'm asking.
Yes.
It's not so, because as of, from what I understand from emergency communications, cell phones still aren't reliable enough to rely on that for any communication purposes for emergency.
Well, they're hardwired into the building, however,
So
there isn't,
it must be transmitted through.
however, there,
or phone lines,
yeah,
correct?
however, there is an app that staff can install on their phone and access, because a lot of times if there's an issue in the school or facility, a teacher can't necessarily get to their laptop. So there's also an app that can be installed on phones. We had a presentation up in Berlin, and they're really excited about the installation of the product. And what they told us was the user fee was not going to be a fee that we incurred the first year, but after that, per year, there would be a user fee, and I think it was $1,800. So I'm not sure exactly what the, this was like maybe 2-3 months ago. The guy that came up and did it, I don't know if you've had the presentation, he's the former Colebrook chief of police, not a great guy, yeah. So really something that I know that it's already been to the school board, and they're on board with approving it.
Well, that's our next step is the SAU 9 has a safety meeting at Bartlett, and myself and Janet are going to go and we talk about this with John Hebert, one of their selectmen. And I think everybody is very excited about it because it's directly tapped into the 911 system, which has more access than anyone. And once you install the app on your phone,
Because we've looked at, you're talking about our pages that we use and new cell phone technology, and it's still, cell phone technology is still not reliable enough, like our pagers and radio, to like rely on cell phone.
Solar.
Yeah.
Solar.
It's part of the package, but it's not the whole deal.
Is it just so you're getting more direct info rather than them just dial 911 and 911 calling you and telling me?
yeah, because believe it or not, the 911 system can receive 18 911 calls before it crashes in the state of New Hampshire.
Only 18.
18.
That's crazy.
That's it.
It's just
So if you've got 8 kids in the school who have phones, and you've got 12 teachers who have phones,
Shut it down.
you're done. Information can't go in and out of it. This is a separate system that circumvents that and allows us to communicate real time.
And the software actually has like the map of the school.
Oh, yeah.
And so you know the entrance, you know the room, anybody that's not familiar with the school, it actually automatically goes out to like X number of the closest police units. If a sheriff's driving by,
It's
they'll
going to
get
track
it.
each cell phone to tell you the position of each individual within the school and where they are. If I type in, where's the SWAT team? They're going to send me the map, and it's going to have their little car on it, and it's going to be where they are, and I can give you the formula.
Yeah, that would be a good question though. I don't know if you're in touch with.
I am. I'm in touch with
chief.
John Lee, so.
I'd like to get some confirmation on just what that first year charge is, what's going to be waived the first year, is it the user's fee, is it the terminal fee, and then also, can you give us a little bit more detail about the Wi-Fi system? The chief mentioned that, it's still not, or not Wi-Fi, but the cell phone system and how the app operates on smartphones.
Most of the cost of this, and I don't know how much they got into it up there, can be, I think 50% of it, might be more than that.
There's
Absorbed
grants.
by the grants.
Yeah, right. That's
And
right.
they don't have to be matching funds grants. They can say, I'm going to pay 50%, and from me as a chief, I can say, well, my 50% is going to come in the form of training. It's going to come in the form of whatever,
In kind, yeah.
in-kind training.
Right.
Or
Is it a
in-kind,
yearly cost, monthly fee?
it's a yearly.
So every year you're gonna have a set fee?
Yeah, it's a subscription service. Now, he has committed to this town as well as to Bartlett, so if we need to involve more people, because you're gonna have more questions than I can think of, and we can certainly have him come back up, and he can talk to whomever he needs to.
Well, and if you
But
want
he
to,
answered all my questions.
if you wanted to get some clarification through Berlin, your contact would be Dan Buteau. He's the one that's
Dan's a great guy.
the point person on
Yeah,
it.
he's a prosecutor up there, he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's the one that's most in
I can
the
reach
know.
out to him as well. So just to give you an idea of what we're looking at in terms of technological advances and faster emergency response, and this is the program that I think we're going to hook our wagons with, so as it were.
Let's find out those final numbers for us.
Okay. And that's all I
I
have.
think it's a great program. I would go after it. It's too cheap not to go after it, too well coordinated.
B has a question. B?
Do we have a problem with the cruiser right here?
What?
Cruiser?
Yeah?
We had
Are we off this topic
I
then?
guess so.
Okay.
You know,
So- If you want to come back next meeting and, or get some clarification on any of that you think might be helpful. So your next step is to go before the school board?
I'm going to contact, my next step is to go to the safety meeting with Bartlett. And hopefully, what we want to try and consolidate or prevent is me going to the principal and so-and-so over here, and her going so-and-so and so-and-so over there, and then they have to talk to each other. So just to streamline it, go to the safety meeting where everybody's there and talk to the
Yeah.
officials.
Sounds great.
And hopefully have this representative there as well.
It's recognized as a safe school best practice.
Yeah.
Any questions on that topic? B, you asked about the cruiser. You have an update on that?
Yeah, it's still in the body shop.
Yeah.
Sure. I can be very clear about that. We had an instance a week and a half ago. We were called to respond to assist a medical emergency up on Presidential Way. And the driveway that needed to be responded to, steep driveway, goes up to a carport, and then you come around and come back down the steep driveway. So our department responded. The cruiser went up the driveway. The officer put it in park, disengaged the transmission lock that we have on both car cruisers, and went inside. And you know the attending nurse who was there said, "How'd you get here?" And, you know, did you walk the way to the cruiser? And our officer said it's right outside. And no, it's not. So what had happened was we had some issues with the transmission in the prior 3, 4, 5 weeks, and this time the transmission locking mechanism failed, and it popped into gear, rolled down the embankment approximately 90 feet, and into 3 trees and got wedged there. So it caused damage on both of the front fenders, radiator, different mechanical things. So yeah, we brought it to the body shop, and they're fixing it. From the body shop, it's going to go to the dealership where they're going to check and repair the transmission, and then we'll have it back. I was told it would be back today. I called and checked on it, and it's not even to the dealership yet. So the mechanicals haven't been addressed. And so yeah, we are addressing it.
So in 2 words, equipment malfunction.
Equipment malfunction. Luckily, there was nobody in the car, nobody was hurt. We can fix that.
Yep. All right, so you're good.
It's an unfortunate thing, but I investigated it myself, and based on all the physical evidence at the scene, I could not assign fault other than mechanical.
Well, 2 or 3 people called me on that, and I hadn't heard any scuttlebutt, so I thought I'd
Well, that's less than me, Dee. I got about 10 phone calls. Whatever the case may be. I have one final issue before I go, and it would have to be discussed as well. But I've been asked by our cleaning lady, as well as it sort of dawns on me that we have a need, I think, in this town for a maintenance person to maintain public buildings, this building in particular. If somebody shows up here or goes to go home, and there is a you know, there's a burst pipe or there's an electrical something going on, who do they call at the present? Do they call one of the selectmen, do they call Julie, do they call me? I think that in itself, if we had a part-time building maintenance person who could address the public buildings, you know, 2 hours a week, just to check on light bulbs, just to check on things, and have a central phone number to call, that would go a long way to expediting any services that we need on an emergency basis.
I would like to think that we would at least be informed of anything like that for sure.
So I would too.
I don't think it's.
I know we don't maintain.
Like breaks, I can get down there in 3 minutes and run to town, obviously, help out.
I don't know that we maintain a list of, you know, do you call FX Lions, or do you call White Mountain Oil, or who do you call?
You're
I
talking about-
called one morning and it was 49 degrees last night.
You're talking about proactive versus reactive.
I'm shocked about it. I think
Yeah, when
it's
we had the air conditioner problem, and it was the water was draining to the light, you know, we always look at, but it's not really case.
well, that's it. The town crew has taken on a lot of it, which I think is outside, and maybe I'm mistaken, but I think it's outside the area of their responsibility. Maybe it's
Well,
not.
certainly not their responsibility to fix that, but I think they would inform us and we would contract whoever is necessary to deal with it. That would be the simplest way. Keeping everything by sure. No, we don't get that many emergencies, and that's all we do is call up American Air Systems and fix it.
Okay, like I said,
I'm happy to kind of run that by the departments that I liaison with between now and the next meeting, get their thoughts and input on it as well. Thought for that?
I have a thought, not sure where it's gonna go. We've sort of talked to Kevin about keeping track of buildings and looking at their stuff. I have not specifically talked to him about this, but I'm not sure you want to replace what you just said, but certainly it's possible. I can talk with Kevin and see if he has any interest in spearheading that to be a point of contact to get things resolved. And I'm not sure that changes anything.
I don't think it's going to change that one way or the other. We're going to find out about it and have to deal with it.
well, I think that's just a matter of protocol anyway.
Right.
Departments are going to contact the select.
Right. And we have to delegate over.
Yeah. Just, to me, it would take a step out of it. You're still going to get informed, but
Right.
we get a jump start on getting a resolution, whatever the problem is.
You do that between now and the next meeting, and
Yeah, I'll talk
that
to
could be your
Kevin.
little action item, and I'll
Yeah.
have
So
one.
if you have a building issue, if you're within your building downstairs, what do you have a budget line item for building or no?
No, I don't. No, I don't. In fact,
It
we had a broken window.
It changed a few years ago. 3 years ago, it changed to having one big fund within her budget that was building maintenance, and it was a huge one. And then I was told every department is responsible for their own building maintenance, period, within their budget. That's what I was told a couple of years ago.
Well, which would still,
So I'm just saying,
so how do you,
so
how
I
do you
have a
feel that in
building.
my department being in the same building?
I know.
You know what I mean?
But I know mine, I have a building maintenance line item, and if I have an electrical issue pop up,
I think police
I-
department
I call an electrician and work within my budget and fix it. Same thing with fire station. It's not like I got.
But you're fortunate that you have your own building.
What's that?
You're fortunate in that you have your own building.
So you don't have that, you don't have a building maintenance line item in your.
I do not, but if the selectmen and the townspeople said that's the way it needs to be, then I could certainly build it in there. As it's set up right now, I don't have it.
But we have one for this building.
What is?
Just not her, just not
If
his.
you wanted to separate it out, if I'm upstairs or downstairs, we can
Do
fly.
that.
Oh, that's a great thing that we can clarify between now and the next meeting, so when we all come together, we have accurate information. That'll be your action item. All right?
Very good.
Very good, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, and item number 4, we have the DOT here to do a quick presentation.
Heavy
regarding
hitters.
bridge work.
Do we need to pull down some blinds, or what do you think? Turn off a light?
Hey, Dick. Everybody's, well, actually, in combination, we also have a bunch of printed handouts to go with it, so.
Okay.
follow along the same pictures you're about to see.
Just an FYI, because of presentation tonight, we might have to drop a couple of the new items to get everything in here before 6 o'clock, so.
Chief, can you say it? Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Bob Landry. I'll try to take a hint in that comment just made that we want to get this thing moving and get it pretty good. I'm with the New Hampshire Department of Transportation. I'm in the bridge design office, and with me tonight I have Steve Langevin from GPI, our consultant, our teammate in that, and John Waters also from GPI. And I also have Phil Brogan here with me, who's my design engineer for this project. I did leave some cards up front. So anybody wants those, they can have it. We are talking about the Jackson Bridge, just up on 16. This is the first in at least 3 meetings. This is a very early meeting where, as you probably know, out there doing surveying as the effort's going on right now. We haven't really done much design stuff. That's why we like to come early, try to hear some of the issues. That's starting to be worked on. We definitely need to get input. One of the inputs, and why I asked the chief to stick around, is sometimes our crash data through the state is not always all that good, and also near misses are also something that we like to hear about when we're looking at projects. So that's one of the reasons there. With that, I'm going to let Phil get into the project, go through it. You can ask questions as we go on. And the other thing is, at the end, I'll kind of wrap it up and give you a little bit about time frame and that type of stuff. Phil?
All right, so this shouldn't take too long. We're probably all familiar with where this bridge is, Route 16, immediately adjacent to the golf course, not very far from here. And here's the map showing the location, showing the little red line here. We are somewhere right here. And this is a view of the bridge from the south. You've got Green Hill Road on the west side, and this covered bridge, the golf course, on the east side. And the same view from the north. Oops. And this is looking from the west. See the close proximity of the covered bridge. And this is on the bridge itself, which I'm sure you've all been over, looking to the north and looking to the south. We're just going through these quickly because, yes?
I just, while you're on this picture, I don't know when the proper time is to discuss the safety issues.
Go ahead.
Yeah. But there's definitely visibility issues.
With Green Hill Road?
Yeah, Green Hill Road. Every single year, we get questions about the brush and people sitting at the intersection not being able to see above the stonework. I'm the road agent plus fire chief. We've been to many accidents there over the course of 30 years.
Okay.
So visibility is definitely a huge issue.
Yeah, we did notice that just out, visiting the bridge.
And
just
at
walking
least
around the
once
corner.
a year, we've got people calling us complaining because they can't see far enough.
Okay. Thank you.
So it's pretty major, it's definitely an issue.
Okay. And it's hard to see, that's looking at the bridge from downstream and upstream. And this is the south abutment, the abutment being the bridge support at the end of the bridge. And the north abutment, oops, shit time here. And the pier, this is the bridge support in the middle of the Ellis River. Okay, so some nuts and bolts about the bridge. It's about 140 feet long. It's a 2-span bridge. It's 77 years old, so it's actually held up pretty well considering its age. The road is 24 feet wide. It's 2 11-foot lanes and about 2 1-foot shoulders. And there is a 4-foot sidewalk on each side. All of the vertical faces on the bridge are covered in decorative stone masonry. The bridge has been on the state's red list for 4 years, and it is currently number 59 on the priority list. So this is just a cross section showing you what the bridge looks like. As I just said, 24 feet for vehicle space, and then 2 4-foot sidewalks, and the parapets on the 2 ends are 2 feet each. So just some bridge terminology here. As I said, the abutment is the support at the end of the bridge. It is a frame arch, concrete frame. It has the concrete wing walls with the stone facing, and it has fascia stones on the edge of the concrete frame, and then a parapet rail above that, which is what you see as you drive across the bridge. And this is looking under the bridge at the pier out in the river. And one of the major issues with the bridge is the scuppers, which is what carries the water from the road deck down through the bridge. As you can see, there's a lot of deterioration at these locations. Some concrete has started to fall off on the bottom side. Now, it looks bad, but this bridge is not about to collapse by any means, but it definitely needs to be addressed. And as you've probably seen driving across the bridge, there is quite a bit of efflorescence, which is the white stuff you see on the stone. That means that water is getting in behind the stone facade and leaching back through. And you can also see there is some mortar missing between the stones, so that needs to be addressed as well. And the curb is only a 3-inch reveal. Originally it was 8.5 inches, so this bridge has somewhere around 7, 8, 9 inches of pavement on it.
Before last year, the reveal was like an inch. We just paved 2 inches last year.
Okay.
That's definitely on the list of safety concerns for the sidewalk. And
Okay.
how far the construction will go.
Okay.
Because it was like that, and that's why it got paved last year. Try to get the sidewalk higher than the road.
Right. Our current standard, most bridges will see about 7 inches of reveal. So there have definitely been several paving projects across this bridge in the last 77 years to bring it up 5.5 inches. And as you've seen, if you've walked across this bridge, the sidewalk concrete is beginning to deteriorate. We're seeing some spalling, primarily behind the curb, the granite curb, but there's also a couple places where in the middle of the sidewalk, the concrete is starting to chip out. There are a couple of detour options, but neither of them are very feasible. There's a 75-mile detour around Mount Washington. I don't think anyone wants to drive that far. The other option is over the Honeymoon Covered Bridge, which the problem with that is the street's on weight restrictions, so you have no truck traffic able to pass there. So that being said, we've got a couple of options for the duration of the project. Either we can do phased construction, where essentially they work on one side of the bridge, have traffic alternating on the other side with a temporary light, and then they flip it over and work on the other side of the bridge and have traffic on the first side. The other option, which is much more costly, is to have a temporary bridge, or if we were to completely replace this bridge, we could build a bridge adjacent to where it is now. And as you mentioned, there's definitely an issue with intersection sightlines at Green Hill Road.
That's the picture.
What we're primarily here to do is to receive input from you all. If you have any safety concerns, you've already heard one. Any concerns with pedestrians or bikes, maybe near misses that you've seen. Flooding, if anyone has, you've probably seen some flooding at the bridge.
She set up really well to Hurricane Irene.
Yeah, we don't really see any damage out there. So, historic considerations. This bridge, as I said, is 77 years old. It's a nice looking bridge. Abutters, obviously, if we're going to do anything adjacent to the existing bridge, the golf course would be impacted, and probably other locations as well, and any other comments that you have. So at this point, I will hand it over to Bob / open it up to any comments from you.
The project is in the 10-year plan for 2023, so it's a little ways out. That's why we're starting this process. Typically, if we need right-of-way It's a 7-year process for the project to advertise. So you can see we're not that early starting, but maybe a little bit. The other good thing is if we can get the project done and there's some extra funds come available. Every year we typically get $3 or $4 million for redistribution funds. That's money other states don't spend. We'd look to invest it. One comment I would add with, and you talk about that site distance, but it kind of, that goes against the historic side. They're gonna want us to save that bridge, save that rail. So that's what we always fight with. The other item, and I want to throw out there is kind of directly, is the sidewalks. There's sidewalks on both sides, but there is no leading sidewalk on.
Right. They don't use the sidewalk on.
Well, I'd say the problem that I see with the sidewalks that are there is that they're 4 feet short, but the proximity of the edge of the sidewalk to the edge of the fog line is so short that any drivers going through that bridge with pedestrians, the drivers are forced or feel compelled to cross the center line, being going north or south, which is inherent to, you know, the facilitation of an accident, either way. So, and there are a lot of walkers, there are a lot of cyclists who regularly use the village loop and are out on Route 60.
One of the things we're talking about is if we can get agreement, and I think I'm on the right side, we could take this sidewalk out, shift the center line by taking that 4 feet, give that 5 feet on that side like it's usual, and then we got an extra couple feet to put the fog lines in a little bit.
What about elevating or disconnecting the sidewalks and putting them as outside of it? Is that a consideration?
Not one that I thought of right off because of property impacts, but
Okay.
we could definitely look at that and bring that back.
It's a visual thing that we all know. We see something that's in proximity to where we need to drive, and we react to it. That's human nature.
No, we see that.
So if we take that out of the eyesight, out of your eye line, that seems to me to be a good resolution.
Any, I know it's early, but any idea like how far the project will go?
Sure as I can keep it.
And the reason I ask is for future sidewalk stuff for us, because the reveal is, there's very little
Down
all the way to Covered Bridge and all the way to the corner.
Well, that,
Because of all the years, see, the town, 2000, 2005, upgraded all of the sidewalks except for Route 16. So definitely the reveal is so I'm just trying to get an idea of if you thought you would include 10 feet of the sidewalk or, 500 feet of the sidewalk down and above the bridge.
I would think we would, maybe 100 feet either side would be ideal for what, because I think we're going to have to shift traffic around, so we'd be paving back that far. So therefore,
So getting the sidewalk 100 feet each way.
yeah, that's what I would. It's bridge funds. We want to try to keep them concentrated with the lack of funds that we do have, as everybody has.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess my first question was, are you locked into the current width of the bridge?
Well, that comes back, and that's a good question. We're going to do some concrete pours. It looks like visually that the abutments and the piers are in really good shape, and that it would be a little crazy to rip them down and put up a brand new bridge, which would cause a lot of other issues. That's a test that we need to start scheduling. We're going to get people out here to do. That'll tell us that. We'll bring that to the next meeting. If they are in good shape, it would definitely let the rehab option be strong. If they're in bad shape, we're looking at a new bridge, and that will probably increase the width.
And when do you expect to be able to have that measurement about those?
John, you want to take a guess?
We have to contract with the material testing company. This takes a little while to get some better contractor to come up here, do the work, go to the lab, do the tests and stuff like that. So we're sitting here in August now. I probably wouldn't have chemical results back from those labs till late September, early October.
Oh, so you'll know before winter.
We'll have a fairly good focus before winter if we're going to be able to preserve the bridge, or if preservation is not even on the table. Yeah, we'll know by October, I'll have a report from the laboratory in front of me that I can look at and understand.
Yeah, and that kind of brings up a good point too. We'd be looking to come in October. Is that a bad time for this community? Is there a lot of snowbirds that we shouldn't be doing? We should be doing more summer meetings, or doesn't it matter?
That's a good time. That's
Anytime
as good a
good.
time as
Right.
any, yeah.
Just a question I've heard in other places.
Are you planning on, like, coming in October to do some sort of a community forum?
It'd be a public
Or just-
informational, instead of coming to a selectmen's meeting,
Right.
we would have our meeting wherever,
Uh-huh.
work with Julie on a good location, we can handle 30,
Yeah.
40 people.
Now, when you said they would prefer to see, for historical reasons, those stone sidings left intact, who were you referring to when you said they?
Division of Historic Resources?
Okay.
So is this a historic bridge?
Oh, yeah.
Do,
Does the height of the sides make a difference to that? Or the fact that they're just there satisfying?
It's very difficult if they're not in bad shape to argue to take them away.
so my follow-up question to that was going to be, it's really only the one side that poses the safety issue, which is not the side where the sidewalk is on. And as you probably know, because you frequent up here, I mean, that's a very popular 1 mile loop, and so people are out there on the highway, and so that side is not the safety issue, it's the other side for people pulling out on Green Hill for southbound traffic. So would there be an opening idea of looking at that wall on one side where it does pose a safety risk, or would they rather avoid? I mean, historical, I get that, but if it's a safety issue,
No, I know
shouldn't that override historical concerns?
I wish it did that easily for some of my projects.
So that's gonna be a tough one.
I don't know. It really depends on the concrete testing, but if that's something that you guys really, especially if you got crash data really helps. When you say you got one a year, that really helps. There's a lady in the back.
Couldn't you do like they did on the bridge over here by the church? Coming out of Carter Notch, they cut it down a little bit on top.
That's just as, we gotta have, that's the stone bridge over here is the exact same situation.
Yeah, but they cut it down from what it was, Jay. Couldn't they do it there?
I would hope so. I hope they do something, not just leave it the same.
But then they wouldn't. It would be historical to cut down.
Or elevate, I guess you could elevate Green Hill Road.
You probably got a minimum height you need to be concerned with also,
Yeah,
for
you
safety
get golf
reasons.
course on the other side of Green Hill, and that's one of the, it's a really tough, tight area with
Yeah.
everything right there. in the way.
Just as long as they take a serious look at the.
No, we will.
May I ask if you have documented crash data in there, like,
We got whatever.
We definitely have to, you know there's been,
I mean, it's-
documentation we can help put our teeth into.
We've got documentation, it's just whatever accidents we've had.
Well, I mean, is there a sheet when you might possibly have crash records in your system that would be able to assist us?
I'm sure they're there, it's,
Not easy to get to.
they don't go in anything other than a crash in that area. It's not under its own, location.
I mean, like I said, I don't know if it's one accident a year. I don't know if it's quite that high as far as true accidents, but as far as people complaining, that's constant.
That's constant, and the near misses are even more frequent.
Well, that to me is why.
We don't have to add it on the misses, but.
Yeah.
Very much, yeah.
No, we can definitely look at trying to put an open rail on that side versus, it may look a little strange, but we can try it.
It's a pretty strange town, so it might.
I didn't say it.
And then what,
Is it possible to increase the grade on the Green Hill Road side a little bit to help,
Yeah.
increase the line of sight?
But I mean,
There's
even-
kind of a hole there.
even 6 inches or 12 inches of, if you reclaim Green Hill Road and it was possible to raise it 10 inches,
That makes a big
that's
difference.
gonna make a huge difference in sight. So,
Stuff we can look at.
you know, I don't think that stuff's just out of the question.
Right, but we do have to watch the golf course side too.
I don't think it's gonna be an issue because there's a berm all the way up
Yeah,
through
the big
there.
berm there shouldn't be.
Yeah.
There's a big berm all the way from the intersection right to the, where the golf course ends.
One of them now. Aerial photos.
The second slide here, oh, might help.
It doesn't show.
Yeah,
That one right
That's
there.
Right,
Yeah.
from that second pole, just beyond the second pole, it's pretty much burned.
Right in the end.
Yeah, yep, it's all firm right in there, and there's a swale in there.
It's actually a little farther up, but from here up is all burned.
Yeah.
And the golf course goes up.
Yeah, I remember seeing the T in this area, and I didn't know how close, drop.
But, we say elevate Green Hill Road, but it can, even reclaiming it and putting 4-6 inches more of hot top there is gonna make the visibility.
Yeah, you could do a flat platform and then drop down.
And if you could drop the rail 6 inches, raise the road 6 inches, that's gonna be huge. It's huge.
No, that's definitely things we can look at.
Are we gonna be notified of the results of the chemical analysis
We
before
bring
you
that to that
schedule
public
a?
informational meeting.
So the selectmen wouldn't necessarily have it before that?
We can send it if you want.
Well, I mean,
It's up to you.
you'd probably need to translate it so I could
Well,
understand.
that's why I'm saying the public info, usually we do that during that.
Okay.
yeah,
Got it.
we'll summarize it so it's chemical results for dummies.
Yeah, that's what I need.
And the chief made a comment here, just quick, but a serious comment, said, hey, you can put a light there, that there isn't a traffic signal. One of the things we probably wouldn't do that, because there's probably not enough movement come out of Green Hill Road to warrant a traffic signal.
Unless you count what's coming down from 16.
Well, we are going to collect traffic data on 16 in Green Hill Road to understand the turning movements there. And then once we come back after we've done some work, we'll be able to more intelligently answer how many cars turn left, how many turn right, and we come down 16 at different times of the day as well.
Well,
Chief wants a roundabout.
I do. People can't drive straight, I can drive left.
Where's the mutual aid that comes from?
I'm sorry?
You're the fire chief. Which one?
Comes from the south.
South. So anything, no work we gotta make, there's no mutual aid coming too far away?
Well, yes, rare, not,
Okay.
no. Pretty, doesn't remember the worm coming here.
But is that my father is warm in his father?
Oh, yes. That's over you, Joe.
I don't know this.
Go around opposite, so you don't want that.
We're trying to do council office figure that.
Well, it's a big project. I'm glad you came in and.
Yeah, it's just, it's really
Think
tight.
about it.
You got this box here too, the underpass for the golf course.
Yeah.
Any work back here, you kind of get into widening that a little bit, and that's got a lot of nice stone work, etc.
If we wanted to, or the town wanted to incorporate rebuilding the rest of the sidewalk from, say, wherever the job ends, to say the covered bridge, at what point would we,
Anytime you want.
but at what point during this discussion between now and 2023, do we say, hey, we want to spend 20 grand and rebuild the sidewalks from the covered bridge and incorporate it into your bid?
Yeah, that's fine.
When would that have to take place?
Anytime they want.
You can kind of see
I can make it happen. I mean, about
the
So it doesn't
road
have to be 5 years in advance
is
or?
wider than the bridge on
Yeah.
this side. So this
No.
goes straight, but here,
Oh.
this road here
Yeah.
is wide, because that line is straight. You've got
The
this
picture
much
looks
on the
south.
The
side.
blocks was replaced and extended about 20 years ago.
Right.
At that point, they widened the roadway, but the bridge is still the original narrow width, which you see there.
But if the bridge has failed to the point where it needs to be replaced, you
It would
could
be wide.
consider.
if it needs replacement, we'd be looking at 11.5 typical. So it would be as wide as it is now, and then you put a sidewalk on.
Oh, okay.
When I took this project and initially looked at it, I figured it was an easy replacement job and just needed to figure out where to put a temporary bridge or work around it. And after looking at the concrete up close and doing some soundings and that, I think I'm gonna be wrong.
Is there any way that you guys calculate the rate of deterioration over the year?
Yeah, if I could, I'd be very smart. Because it's definitely accelerates. We've seen it on our steel structures where it's slow, and all of a sudden it really speeds up. This one doesn't seem to have it underneath, except where those drains were. That's an old practice that we no longer do. Typically, we'd pick up the water on each side ahead of it now. The old practice was let the water fall down through the bridge, and it basically rusted out the pipes, and now it's starting to flow onto the concrete with that water.
Is there any issue with the water draining into the river as far as, I mean, obviously it's doing it now, but
We wouldn't be permitted to do that. We need to treat it, we need to gather it, wrap it together unless we do basic sheet flow, because then it gets treatment as it's going down the slope. We try to pick it up prior to the bridge, we're going to need to put it in a treatment swale, which is going to get a little interesting. It's just a grass swale, basically, is what you do right there. That would be some more fun. Well, thank you for letting me take half an hour out of your selecting meeting and coming up. And
We've wasted time on worse issues than this.
thank you very much. Thank you very much. We'll be back.
Yeah, thanks for coming up. Sure.
Thanks, Wilson. I appreciate the info.
I'm sorry? We don't want to track here.
Can't wait today, I don't know.
I'll get out of your way. You just pull that out of the wall, then I'll... Anything you need me to grab? Yeah, grab that for me. Thank you very much.
Like I said, we're trying to set up our other meeting at 6 tonight.
You want to table the rest of it? You want to table everything?
Go on to public comments. Any quick public comments from anybody? Yes, George.
Yeah, I was unable to attend the meeting where you discussed the veterans using the old home. And I looked at the minutes, but I didn't notice the rationale that you used to support the letter of support that you sent off to them. And to identify what the need was, the specifics on the concept of who pays and so forth. Was that provided? If it is, I'd like to find it.
They didn't give us any figures on that.
No, but I think if you look to the video stream, I'm not sure what the minutes said. Most of the discussion was around need and availability, and there was a fair amount of discussion around cost. It wasn't going to cost the town anything. They were looking for support to justify the use of funding sources outside of the town. And that's on the, if you want to access that video, I think we definitely talked about, or part of their presentation was about need, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so that's your letter then is supported by the discussion at the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was looking for more factual information.
In the minutes, you mean? And didn't see it in the minutes? Yeah. Do you have access to the video stream?
George,
That might.
I think if he called Dorothy Solomon, there's a committee on that.
Yeah, she's involved with the committee, but I mean, as far as a record of what was said and our logic and where it came from, that video stream might do a better job than the
You
minutes.
said no tax money from Bartlett. Who does pay? Jackson.
Jackson.
Who does pay?
Yeah. I believe it was going to be a combination of county, and they were looking to take that over from the county. You'd have to, yeah, I would.
In order to get the grants, and Oregon has to get the location for its project. That was the letter. Firstly, the letter was that in order for them to get any grant money, they had to say they had a location and they were supporting that location. Is kind of the basis of that. So we haven't received any grant money. There wasn't any money numbers that were kicked around.
What was the date of that meeting? I'll see if I can find it.
July 9th.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want me to send you Dorothy's email?
And I can't remember if it was a private grant or a state grant or federal grant, but it was about the support which was going to lend weight to the grant proposal.
Yeah, they were supposed to meet on August 10th. So the delegation had put aside over $500,000 to tear down the wings of the old nursing home that were perfectly usable. So we supported that project, and then hopefully they'll get grant money to cover it. That help, George? Any other public comments? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to building inspector.
Are you still gonna do new business, or you canceling it all?
I'm not gonna cancel, I just hope we can get through some of it. Kevin, go.
Okay, so we got a couple new permits here. Looking at number B here, letter B, I'm sorry. 42 Valley Cross Road, they're good for new frost walls and new basement, new electrical service, pretty straightforward. Letter C is just an extension on a house off of Green Farm Road. D is Sonny Couture on his lot off of Green Hill Road. He's going to start, he extended his building permit for his barn, and I think he just started work on that actually. And letter E is for a driveway permit. It's down here in the village. I don't know exactly where this is, and I think it's just for access to a lot, I believe. I didn't do my homework on that. And letter F was we put together basically a new building permit, and this has to do with the application fees, about raising them, and I've talked to Bill about this. Right now our fees are, basically it's a percentage of the value of the work, and right now the fees, I don't know if you guys have copy of all that.
Rather than getting the details, go ahead, but rather than getting the details, if you have this stuff, you guys, can you review it this week, and then we can do the details later, because it's
Sure.
Like,
Take some time.
yeah, it's gonna take some time.
Okay, yeah, all right, yeah, so take a look at the fee schedule there, and right now, we're, the fee schedule is not meeting my goal to, not my goal, not meeting my salary, the expenses, so. And if you look at, you average some of the last year's value of work that was done, you know, this rate was raised, it would meet my salary. And this is more in line too with the International Code Council too, what they recommend. They come out with twice a year with a fee schedule on what you should cost, what you should charge for a building cost, and they're not very realistic to what happens here in Jackson, just because of excavation, septics, water, everything else, and you see some of the sites. And so they use their rates are low, but if you see their multiplying factor, it's very high. And it's like 0.0075. Whereas I want, whatever, I'm recommending 0.0045. So it's not even 0.5% of the whole entire project. And then also on this rescheduling fee or whatever, some of these small jobs, you know, if you
That's what I was worried about.
yeah, they do a small job. You know, just say they do a $2,000 deck job or something, they fix something, and it's only $25 for the administration fee, and then you times 2,000 by 0.0025, and I don't even know what it is. It's like $5 or something. It's not even worth me, you know, going out and taking a look where I have to. So there's a minimum fee in this new schedule here, and I think to just take a look at that. Any questions? I mean,
Take a look at that. Thank you for your work on that.
Thanks.
Too.
Yeah, we put it on the agenda next time.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Kevin.
Moving on to new business. First up is signature of the trust funds. Signature required for the trust funds, trustee of the trust funds. You could read that motion.
I move to transfer deposit $50,000 into the highway truck capital reserve fund, $30,000 into the heavy highway vehicle capital reserve fund, $15,000 into the police cruiser capital reserve fund, $100,000 into the fire department truck capital reserve fund per Article 8, 11, 13, and 7.
It was 15,500.
15,500. I said 15.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
have 3 of these.
So the next trustee of the trust funds motion will be that I will move to withdraw $1,831.07 from the Bridge Repair Expendable Trust Fund 0034 to pay Lucy Hardware invoice 242473 dated June 15th, 2015, and invoice 242573 dated June 17th, 2015, along with Mountain Valley Fab invoice 43 dated July 21st, 2015, from the Bridge Repair Expendable Trust Fund 0034.
Second. Any discussion on that?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Somebody like it? You have the third.
I did. I move to withdraw $1,447.48 from the police department expendable trust fund 0851 to pay Tiger Direct order confirmation dated 8/11/15.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item B, while we're doing the signing here, trying to speed up the process, I apologize, I'm trying not to rush, but Gray's Inn Garage Storage, is that something we can?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a couple of buildings, I'm just doing that, but, seems to be gotten multiple calls this year on people wanting to store stuff in Gray's Inn. The building's getting, I'm not gonna say it's full, but my question to you people is where are we gonna draw the line to how much goes in there, who uses it? Conservation Commission has asked to store some stuff in there, which is not a problem. The old library committee has books or something that they want to put in there, which I recommended they don't put them in there. You know, it's not a dry spot. My big question, it's becoming more and more of a, you know, the Chamber of Commerce is in there. Red Cross put a trailer in there, Emergency Management put a trailer in there, the ambulance put a trailer in, so the building's starting to fill up. Not saying it's full, but it's starting to fill up. And where do we draw the line between stop letting people use it? Is it gonna be a case-by-case basis with people coming to the Selectmen, or what would you like to do? One of my issues is people other than us that use it don't take care of it. We spend a lot of time organizing it, cleaning it, trying to keep it neat, and then I'm going to mention any specific organizations, but they come back and
Or are they back in?
yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of staging in there that doesn't get used anymore that the whatever group used to use. There's snow sculpture stuff in there. There's a playground in there from whatever group donated a playground out behind the Whitney Center 10, 15 years ago. Fire department's got a lot of stuff in there. Highway department's got most of the big stuff in there. The PD uses it. They haven't used it lately, but when they have an accident and they need to impound something themselves, like right now, it's getting to the point where they're not gonna be able to do that. School bus goes in there in the summer. That's a fairly new thing, but it's a good spot to put the bus in the summertime instead of being out in the elements. So I don't know. Just wanted to bring it to your attention. And what do we tell these two organizations that want to use it? I don't know if I need to meet with somebody and go through the building one of these days. It'd probably be a good idea to do that.
I think we could make a sweep at least sometimes.
I don't know which one of you guys wants to be the.
I'm a little concerned about the books, because I have books and ground.
Yeah,
that doesn't suit too well.
No.
But yeah, we can take a sweep through there.
I mean, I don't know how much that library costs, but I don't understand why.
If you don't ever use one, get rid of it. That's my.
You want to deal with it when we get together on the paving? you want to deal with it? Go over it together?
If you want to be the person, yeah, we can do that. I mean, I think the book thing can be settled pretty
Yeah.
basic.
Right, that's not appropriate, but
Yeah.
I live for moments to interact with you, so.
That made my day.
So I don't think we need to go on any, but the other really important issue I got is DOT. They're bailing out this year on the shim, state aid. They're not bailing out completely. I got confirmation from the patrolman that he was told the 30 grand deal isn't gonna happen this year, that they're only gonna give us 20.
Did you see my email though?
No.
We don't know that for sure yet.
Okay.
We're gonna know soon.
But my
Yeah,
confirmation
yeah.
from the boss,
Yeah.
Kenny, is they're not gonna do it. And I'm surprised they do it at all, to be honest with you.
Is the 20 solid, or they're going to bail on that too?
No, I don't know. You know, I am surprised they even put any money into those roads, because I know they got money issues, but, Hurricane Irene, they bailed out completely on us, and I didn't push the issue because it was Hurricane Irene, and they were putting a lot of money everywhere else in the state, so I kind of just shrugged it off and said, well, we're eating it for this year. I was told by Gene that I probably shouldn't have, after the fact, that I should have went after him and gotten the money the next year. But we didn't do that. So Gene had told Gene what was possibly happening, and he said the selectmen have to write a letter to the commissioner and he'll hand deliver it. So Julie and I have been, or mostly her, have been working on emailing Kenny's boss, making sure everything's is.
Yeah, I'm waiting for an email back.
So we're working on that. If that doesn't, if they're not gonna do the 30, then we're gonna, or she's gonna prepare.
So his
a letter
boss,
of
his
some
boss is
sort
in Lancaster,
for you guys.
so the letter goes to Concord.
So I guess we
Figure that
don't
out.
have to discuss it tonight, but we need future discussion for
So the
what
letter
we're gonna
would,
do with the state aid.
Well, let's wait.
the letter would be expressing our concern.
Basically, we can draw that up, and get that out there, because we don't wanna wait too long.
Let me
No,
see what the
you
email
really
says
don't.
when it comes back.
Okay, all right, if we have to draw up a letter, we'll draw up a letter
Next week.
next week.
If we're in agreement, maybe we can reach that. Are we all in agreement to draft a letter of concern? I am, so.
Because we've already spent our 30.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got the option to not spend the money on it until they spend the money on it, but what it does, it affects the price.
Yeah.
Because if I can group that 30 grand with my 200 grand,
Right, yeah,
it
that's key.
keeps the price lower.
To transport.
And if I don't do it that way, you're not gonna end up with paperwork like you see, you're gonna end up with a disgusting rate of shim.
Very good.
So Gray's Inn will meet with Bob on that. I guess if you're committed for time, I guess the other stuff I have can wait. We've been in regular business as usual as far as work. We did a bunch of work at the falls for the Chamber of Commerce. That's, they were happy of that, not Chamber of Commerce, Conservation Commission.
Yeah, looks great, by the way.
It does.
I do have a couple other big items, but they don't need to be discussed tonight. We should just, I guess we kind of already discussed that. Weed's not getting any better,
Yeah.
and I wanted to bring it up so that we could look at maybe spraying this year, but I might be a little behind the ball on it.
I think we have to raise the funds for that, like we did before.
Well,
I've got money in my budget.
a relatively lengthy approval process. That would be the piece, like, there might be some funding available within existing budgets to do it, but I don't know time-wise if we'll have enough time to get a permit approved at the state level. You know, Preston Toll contacted us at the time when it was gonna we were gonna need to put something together, which was like June, and basically I told him, hey, we didn't put a town warrant on this year, so.
It didn't look as
some-
bad then, but now it's definitely worse than it was last year.
So at any rate, we can contact him and find out if we've definitely missed the boat time-wise on that approval process if we want.
Can you remind me to get together with you, Julie? Monday,
Yeah.
Tuesday.
I think they have to apply for it.
It's
Actually,
pretty timely.
Um,
Yeah, well, that's when they spray.
Right.
So-
We don't have time between now and
Well,
bloom
it
season.
like takes a couple of months for that to get through sometimes. We can call them and ask them.
Just, I know they're moving forward with Black Mountain, east, west, whatever improvements they have to do to satisfy Kevin.
With the water?
Yeah, I know that's slowly moving forward, so just an update for your
Great.
action items if that was on there.
We got-
One really quick thing I do want to mention now, I'm sure you guys are aware, but we do have a firefighter from Bartlett and Jackson who have been nominated for awards from the state for the rescue
Down at the water.
at
Little Falls?
Isn't it with?
Bartlett, at the condo development in Bartlett, down by
Woodland Pond.
Woodland
It
Pond.
was Pines.
Woodland Pond is, yeah, we had a structure fire there and we went, we got there really quick. Let me just say that, we got there really quick with Bartlett. There was, come to find out, it was structure fire, really hot. I was there. There was somebody in the building. We did physically rescue him.
What day was this?
Months ago, 3-4 months ago, back in the
This time.
spring. Because it's still snow on the ground. We did rescue him. He was fine, I guess. So it's kind of a big deal.
Sure.
Even the full-time departments in the area, that doesn't happen very often.
When is that gonna happen?
In September, end of September, we're going to Manchester. So it's Travis Chick from Bartlett and Anthony Giovanni from Jackson. Were the two that
Congratulations.
did the rescue, two different departments working together
Sweet.
like that. So,
So it'll be a ceremony.
yep, oh, it'll be full-blown, so full-blown.
Can you pass along that
Bar-
date
Bartlett,
when you get
Pass
it?
that date on to us, you get it, so.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
All right, very good.
Big item.
Thank you very much. All right, a couple of signatures, and we'll probably call it quits if we're gonna get out of here. One is the emergency operations plan. This is annual.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, James. Town of Jackson shall execute this plan annually by its members of newly governed body at their first organizational meeting, Jackson, New Hampshire Emergency Management Plan. So, motion to sign the updated, this is 2011 on the dotted top here, but it's 2015, July 29, 2015, emergency operations plan.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
All right.
Print our name on this one. All right. And next on the list is intent to cut. We signed this outside the meeting, but just to let everybody know that this was done. So it was for, let's see, R12, lot 55, units 1 and 2, I believe. Is that correct? That's all right? Okay. Tax map lover.
What was that?
So that was done and signed already by the selectmen outside of the meeting. It was kind of a, I guess, timely thing to get that done. You good?
Is there a name on that?
Was there a name on that? That's a good question.
Down lower.
Eagle Mountain Road, Adams Road, 15-acre lot.
But the name is down lower.
Down lower. Mike?
No, that's the logger. I'm the logger besides the owner.
Oh, Tony Simone. Tony Simone was the owner's name.
Let's do that.
All right. We just had the guardrail replaced. Oh, this is a different one. New Hampshire Department of Transportation is planning on replacing multiple sections of guardrail along approximately 12 miles of Route 16 north between Pink Notch Visitor Center and Route 16 intersections in Gorham. So that'll be over the hill on that side. So just FYI for people traveling that way. Do we have a date on that? Do not have a date on it, I'll see. 29, 2016 is tentatively when that's going to start, so. Maloon Road. Summary reports, FYI, just forget the groundwater testing from the old duct.
Yeah.
So something to peruse here, I guess, and from HEB engineers.
And they are requesting a reduced sampling schedule.
I'm sorry?
They're requesting a reduced sampling schedule.
Oh, good. Oh, good, because we didn't hit that quite a few times. Awesome. So I guess we'll have to pick through that and read that.
We got that through the email, didn't we? Get that?
Yeah, email, and then there's a hard copy as well.
Hard copy here. And last new business we have here is a request to use the logo.
That's that same company that's coming in to do filming. They wanted to.
The log cabin
Yeah.
group.
So they wanted to, if they had any logos, they wanted permission to use them.
So, are you familiar with what this was
I'm
about?
familiar with it, I'm not familiar with this, logos, I don't know what that is.
What is her email? It's
It
highlighted.
says, I need one more quick thing from you. I completely forgot to mention. Attached here is our materials release. This is just in case you come across any logos within the town that you guys own, making it possible as to feature signage that show, I have attached it below. Like if you're wearing a, Jackson Covered Bridge shirt or something like that, I guess they're allowed to show it. I know a lot of times they blur them out on TV, so they, like it says Coca-Cola across it. Any?
I have no issue with it.
I guess I'm the only one to sign this, so I need a motion to.
They couldn't use any of the PD stuff, any of our patch logos.
Right, exactly.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those?
I
Aye.
can send that back.
Yeah, you gotta exclude that.
That brings us to old business. None on the table here. Anybody have any?
I just want to say that we have a request for assistance, we're working with it. So, just to let you know, Julie is handling it very well, we've talked about it in some meetings. Anything further develops, I'll get together and let you know.
You have anything, Bob?
No.
Anybody else have anything? Old business? And last round of public comments with 3 minutes left to go. Come on.
I'll mention something.
Sure. Please.
Only because I know you spoke about the building inspector fees.
Yep.
Personally, I don't feel any great need that the fees be sufficient to cover all of Kevin's salary if that was part of the discussion. But the reason I mention, what I do want to mention is I've noticed several instances where people have begun building without a permit. As it stands now, they get caught, they apply for a building permit and it's either granted or not granted. So there's really no downside to trying to skirt the system. I'm aware of other towns in the state where if you do get caught and have to then apply for a permit, the permit fee is substantially more. It might be double with a minimum to provide some incentive to, do the right thing.
Right.
It's not like we've talked about building permits so much in this town, and most of the construction is done by professionals anyway. I mean, everybody knows they're supposed to get one. So for what it's worth, not you.
Have we had any complaints about people doing that have been filed at the office?
Written complaints about people not submitting?
Right.
No.
In my mind, that's the starting point, and so that we don't have anonymous input from individuals that remain nameless. And I think we really need to get that stuff on record before we send a building inspector out willy-nilly, following up on hearsay and rumors. I think it would be nice for us to have a record of information of things that people see, so that everything is transparent and open, and then it would behoove us then to take action.
Well, the cases I'm aware of, in one case, of course, the individual built something more than what was in the original permit, so, and they should have come back, and they knew they should have come back for a second permit, and they didn't. You know, I'm aware that it's also before the ZBA, another case where Kevin just stumbled upon it, that something that was blatant, and you know, he asked where the permit was, and there was none.
Those are the
I'm not
examples that I'm
suggesting-
looking for something to be on record.
I'm sorry?
Those are the exact kind of examples that I think would be really helpful for the town, for those things to be on file.
Well, these are certainly on the ZBA file. And
Stan?
Yeah, time's late, but we talked about this a meeting or two ago, the one where Kevin stumbled on property, and I raised, why don't we have a penalty, and, you know, these are builders who are not applying, and the board decided not to pursue it, but it's on record. I mean, Kevin testified that he, when he was up there one day, that he saw construction trucks outside his site and went in, am I right?
Yeah, I've already caught 5, there's 5.
Yeah,
5
that's
times
on
longer
record.
since I've been here a year.
It's in the minutes.
And one of them was, I mean, I'm not mentioning names, but one I got right now that I'm working on, they're saying their higher ups we don't need a building permit. I kind of explained to them that, yes, you do. And, you know, this is a $1 million corporation, and I'm still waiting to hear back from them. I'm gonna write a letter tomorrow, so.
I think
That's a completely different issue,
Yeah.
but if we've got people that are sending emails claiming to be somebody, and we can't substantiate that, and we don't know if that's somebody that's got some sort of other motive or agenda for what they're doing, and it's not out of the realm of possibility to see people with personal agendas using things like this as weapons, completely against it. And that's why we can help Kevin when we have signed complaints on file, we have a system and we have a form for that, and we've invited that in the past, and that way he doesn't get put into the middle of something that's really not fair to him.
I don't disagree with you, I'd suggest that's not what's happening. Well, it's certainly not what's happening now here. I mean, nobody's kind of, I'm not aware of anybody's kind of telling Kevin about this stuff. It's the stuff that Kevin's just aware about himself.
Yeah, I just see it, I'm going out doing an inspection, I see, a couple of times I've seen construction trucks there, and hey, what's going on?
Right.
You know?
I mean, you came here and you mentioned concerns about a deck based on an email from somebody who claimed they were a timeshare owner, and so we don't need to make this a big issue, but that's the kind of thing that we need to substantiate when we're paying someone's salary to go out and take a look at things.
Right. Yeah, that's what
I agree with you, Bob. I want a trail. You'll end up with just crazy stuff.
And that'll make if there is a penalty phase to be put in, and again, that's your decision to do that. I believe. It's not our decision to enforce fines and things, but, you know, we would instruct you to, you know, obviously, you know, try to, you know, follow the letter of the building code.
I guess as only a request, I guess as a request, if you decide you're going to find somebody a double or triple fee, I really think that I would personally like to know about it before you do it.
Oh, yeah, you know about it. And like I said, that's the last extreme, for coming out of me especially.
Any other quick comments? Just a last thing, we'll close here. I'd like to, first a quick note here. Note from Ellie Spears that she would like to be considered a member of the old library management committee. And Tim Scott wrote a quick letter here thanking the crew for the work on resurfacing the road. He says it hasn't been done in his entire lifetime up there. So that's great to hear. I appreciate getting those letters, and thank you for those. I hope they continue to come in. Any other last comments before we break?
Do we want to nominate the library?
Do we want to do that? That's right. We probably should.
I'm happy to do that.
Why don't you do that?
Ellie Spears, I make a motion that we appoint Ellie Spears to the old library committee.
Second, please.
All right. All those in favor?
All right.
All right. And a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
So go on fast forward.
Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. And I hope you stick around for next